Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. Today, you have myself and the Captain Byron Mitchell here with us today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
We'll see how good you are after we finally unload.
Oh, I know. I'm ready.
It is championship week. The championship game is still scheduled for Saturday, Ohio State versus Northwestern, 12 p.m. We're going to be previewing the championship game. We're going to talk about that. And then, to be honest, most of the podcast after that, we're going to be talking about these college football playoff rankings that came out Tuesday night that just sent the internet afray. So first, before we get into that nonsense, let's get into the Buckeyes. Byron, when's the last time Ohio State played?
When we played Michigan State 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. And in that time, we did a Michigan week preview. We were supposed to play Michigan. That did not happen. Michigan canceled. And we were starting to get a little nervous because it was 6 wins to get into the Big Ten title game. And Indiana was 6-1. You saw the tweet I sent out to Kevin Warren. And I'm not taking credit for it, but the next day, Ohio, they said, yeah, we're changing the rules. Ohio State. Maybe Kevin Warren didn't want to visit from.
Maybe not.
But that changed. We got a lot of pushback from that nationally, and to some of the Big Ten saying, oh, we're entering Ohio State. Did you think that was the right decision to change that so that Ohio State could play in the conference championship?
Absolutely. I have been against that 6-game rule since the beginning because of the pandemic. I just think it was such a horrible rule to say, oh, even though we're in a pandemic, you guys still have to play 6 and win 6 games to qualify for the Big Ten championship. As you saw at the beginning, first Wisconsin was out for 2 weeks after their first game against Illinois. And then they were out third. So then they couldn't even go to the championship. So I think they probably should have changed the rule once Wisconsin was unable to go to the championship game. But I think they absolutely needed to change that rule.
Okay. So the rule did get changed. We're playing Northwestern. The spread is a 20-point spread right now. Northwestern's only lost once, but it was a terrible loss to Michigan State. When you think of this game, and it's not the first time we've played Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game, do you feel like that's a good spread? 20 points is a little too high? Do you think it's a little too low? What do you think?
I think it's a good spread. I remember the last time we played Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. I feel like we struggled the first half. Because every team always plays their best game against Ohio State. It just is what it is. So I think the spread is where it should be, just based on how we played against it the last time we were in a Big Ten championship game.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just about right. I mean, we just beat Michigan State by 40, and that's the team that they lost to. They have a decent defense, but they don't have the offensive firepower to keep up with Ohio State. So it should be, if we play like we can play, we should be fine in this game. If we don't play like how we should play, then we might be in some trouble, but there's too much riding on the line this game. We have to win.
We have to utterly destroy them, and I hate to say that, but Northwestern, I'm sorry, but we have to destroy you this weekend. Just to send a message to the playoff committee that we actually belong in the number 4 spot.
Uh-oh, we're going there? Are we going there now?
If you want to go there, we can go there, but
I said that we need to destroy them. So the playoff committee, we need to be in the number 4 slot, and I think that was the open segue to welcome to What the Hell Makes Sense World. So, the playoff committee came out with their Tuesday night rankings. Top five hasn't changed. Alabama was number 1, they're 10-0. Notre Dame was number 2, 10-0. Clemson was 9-1. Number 3, Ohio State was number 4, 5-0. Texas A&M was 7-1. And then the buffoonery happened. Iowa State is number 6, 8-2. Florida is 8-2, number 7. Georgia 7-2, number 8. Cincinnati is 8-0, number 9. Oklahoma is 7-2, number 10. And just to show more Big Ten some love, Indiana is number 11, 6-1. So Byron, let's start first with the top 4. Felt like those are the right 4?
Yes. Like we said this many times, the top 4 hasn't changed in my eyes. I feel like these are the 4 best teams. We got 1 SEC team, 2 ACC teams, and then 1 Big Ten team. I wish there was more diversity and maybe get 1 from each conference, but these have proven they're the 4 best teams this season.
Yeah, 5 through 9 is when it's starting to get a little concerning. Texas A&M, they're 7-1 to this day. Texas A&M, their only loss was the utter destruction that Alabama gave them. So the committee values getting smacked around by Alabama. And their biggest win was against number 7, Florida. You remember Alabama scored 52 points on Texas A&M.
Yes.
So the next one, Iowa State, who was ranked number 6 at 8-2. I did not see that coming. They've lost to Oklahoma State. They've beaten Oklahoma, but Oklahoma isn't that good this year. They lost to Louisiana Lafayette, 31-14. And Louisiana is number 19, and they're 9-1. But they beat the number 6 team, and they have less losses, so that makes sense. Florida, who has 2 losses, who just lost to LSU. And yes, LSU was bad this year, but LSU literally was that quarterback. That was his first game starting. They were down basically half the team scholarship-wise.
Yes, correct.
They were a 23-30 point underdog. And because of because of Florida's foolishness, they lost the game. And they dropped 1 spot. And then you had Cincinnati, who didn't play because of COVID, because their game got canceled. They dropped the spot. And they're 8-0. And Georgia's there at 7-2. And I don't know why Georgia's still in the top 10. They've not been a good team this year. So, what's this sending with the committee that an 8-0 Cincinnati team dropped, and a Florida team that I think was 6 last week only dropped 1 spot by losing to a 30-point underdog? When you hear that, what do you think?
I feel like there's a little bit of a SEC bias just because of the way they have done the rankings this week. Like, I feel like Florida should have dropped way more than 1 spot because they lost to an unranked team. Like, I don't understand how you lose to an unranked team and only drop 1 spot. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, if Ohio State had lost like Iowa, we would have dropped like 4 or 5 spots.
Oh, yeah, 7. I think we dropped 7 spots. From recent memories telling me we drop 7 spots.
But no, Florida loses to LSU and only dropped 1 spot. Georgia, like you said, I don't understand why Georgia's in the top 10. I guess they have quality wins. I mean, they just beat Missouri and they were 25. So, I guess you move them up a spot. But I don't understand why they're in the top 10 because they have not been as dominant as they have recently.
When you look at, let's just look through the top that top 10. Alabama's the SEC team. That's 1. Texas A&M 2. Florida 3. Georgia 4. So that's 4 of the top 10 in the SEC. And typically, that's not uncommon when they have only 1 loss. But their teams here were 2 losses. Georgia and Florida both have 2 losses. And Florida, before they lost to LSU, was talking smack about Ohio State, saying, oh, we getting punished for actually playing games? I guess we only had to play like 5 games. I'm like, well, who are you talking to?
Right. It's not our fault we only had 5 games. Like, our season started later than 3 of the Power 5 conferences. Yep. So it's not our fault that we didn't have enough games to play against. I mean, play as many games as the rest of the college football world.
Yeah, and people need to realize like you said, it's not our fault. In our very first podcast about the Buckeyes, we talked about we had a schedule ready to start in like September, early October, and then we canceled the season with the Pac-12, thinking everyone else was going to cancel with us, and the other Power 5 looked at us like, okay, we're going to continue it out. So if you do remember, even early in the year before, if we didn't even know we were coming back, Dabo Sweeny, who has been talking about us all year, is like, man, we'll be fine without Ohio State.
Yes. He has been talking major crap about Ohio State all year.
Yeah, and he's talked about they don't need us in the playoffs. There's been more there's been other people who's won besides Ohio State, which is true. He's talked about we don't deserve to be in there. He's like, oh, I was on the committee. It's real hard for me to leave out a 9-1, 10-1 Texas A&M over a 5-win team. Like, what? Like, I don't get it. Cincinnati, I'm extremely mad for you guys. You guys are a high-on team. You guys are undefeated, and you're getting disrespected. And then right over underneath you is Oklahoma. And I really do think that some of this also it's extreme bias, because just think of this. Iowa State's number 6 at 8-2. Oklahoma is number 10 at 7-2. If number 6 Iowa State beats number 10 Oklahoma, how far can they jump?
It depends on what the top 4 do.
Exactly. Or if number 10 Oklahoma upsets number 6 Iowa State, they're going to jump Cincinnati. But how far is Oklahoma going to jump?
True. Luckily, Cincinnati does have the AAC conference game this weekend. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they can dominate and jump a couple spots. Because when their rankings originally came out, I honestly thought Cincinnati would have been 5 or 6.
Yes. And Urban Meyer's been pushing for Cincinnati, saying he doesn't understand why they're not getting respect. It might be because it's boys coaching, but I feel it too, man. You're 8-0. And it's not like they're playing in the FBS, AAA. They're in Division I football. They're 8-0.
And at the beginning, I remember at the beginning, like when the season started and like the Big Ten and Pac-12 weren't going to play, they said Cincinnati could be a top 4 team. So like they had respect for Cincinnati at the beginning. So what happened since then? Like they're 8-0. They're 8-0. They're undefeated. Like they should be above Georgia and Florida and Iowa State.
Yeah, it's really disheartening. And then even yesterday, Barstool Sports OSU was trying to stick up for them, and the other teams were coming at us. Alabama's Barstool Sports came at us. Texas A&M Barstool Sports came at us. I'm like, first of all, we're talking about Cincinnati, and we're just talking about it makes no sense.
Right.
If you, like, what are we doing here? You take the names off. You're like, oh, yeah, the 8-0 team would definitely be above a 7-2 team. Like, or us. And then the way they rank these people, and you want to talk about what starting late has done to conferences, look what it did to the Pac-12. So USC is 5-0. They're not going to sniff anything close to the playoffs.
No, they are not. They're 13.
They might the top 10.
They might crack the top 10.
But they're not. I mean, that's what happened. We try to tell you guys that's what happened with starting late when everyone else started on time. Like, it's crazy that Alabama is really about to play their 11th game this Saturday.
and we only would have played 6.
Because we didn't start on time. We didn't give any time for makeup and all that. Now, just going back to the top, we'll say the top 7, because that's where they set it up in a way with Florida being 7 and Alabama being 1. If the unthinkable happens, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, that as a Buckeye fan, at that point, Florida only had 1 loss. You do not want Florida to lose. I mean, to beat Alabama.
Right.
But now, Florida's 7. Alabama's 1. If Florida does the unthinkable and beats them, let's say real unthinkable, and blows them out, there's no way. I think the committee set it up in a way that they do not want it. Even if Florida's a 2-loss team, the SEC champ has to be in.
Correct.
And a 1-loss Alabama has to be in. Of course, if we win, I'm 98% sure we'd be in. But I feel like Buckeye fans are getting a little too overconfident about, if we win, we're in. Gotta be careful. They're like, we can't. They can do whatever they want. And here's my thing with why I think if Alabama loses to Florida and both get in, that's bull. Because 2016, Ohio State lost to Penn State, and Penn State won the Big Ten championship game. But with 2 losses, they did not get in.
No, that
Ohio State got in because our 1 loss was to Penn State, and we had a quality win over Oklahoma.
Yes.
So the Big Ten champ was left at home. Now, hindsight 2020, I wish we would have flipped, because then Penn State would have been the team losing 31-0 to Deshaun Watson's Clemson, not up.
I honestly think Penn State should have gone since they were the Big Ten champ. I know they say, conference championships don't matter. I still think they should have been in.
They don't matter when they don't want it to matter, but it matters when they want it to matter. Because if both got in, I'm going to pull up 2016, so why didn't Ohio State and Penn State both get in? It's the same exact thing.
Right.
Like, that makes it matters when it's the SEC, but it doesn't matter when it's other things. And all this talk, too, about Clemson, if they lose, they could still be in?
They'll be a 2-loss team.
Oh, no way. But there's talk that they really have to stay.
I know. I feel like, I don't know, man. Because Clemson has been dominant for the last couple of years. I don't think there's like an ACC bias, but I think there may be like a little Clemson bias. I would not be surprised if Clemson lost to Notre Dame, that they would keep Clemson out.
I'll even go, even the 2016 one, I'll even go another one where Alabama was sitting at home and they got the 4th spot. Remember that? It was between us and Alabama. We won the Big Ten. And they're like, it's not even close. Alabama, who didn't even make it to the SEC championship game because I think they lost to Auburn that year, they got in the playoffs over us.
I remember that.
But why didn't our conference championship matter at that? We did have the bad loss. I think that was Iowa that year. We had the bad loss, but we had the conference championship. But Alabama sitting at home, they get in the 4th spot. They played Georgia in the national championship game, and they do show the committee they were right on that because Tua comes in and national championship Alabama. But why didn't the conference championship matter then? Like, the Big Ten is sometimes when they're talking about this stuff, because the Ohio State fans are saying win and we're in. Remember, we have come down to that 4th spot of line. We have not gotten it. Like, come on now. They've had playoffs without Ohio State. Think about the year 2 that we just won the national championship. Our 1 loss was to Michigan State, and we were just instantly out. Instantly. No further discussion. These other teams, like this year, Texas, there's teams with 2 losses talking about, if XYZ happens, they could get in.
Right.
What? Where was this for Ohio State?
With 1 loss. Like, we lost to the Big Ten champ that year.
15. We lost. And we weren't even considered. Why could we have 2 Big Ten teams? Nope.
But they're fine with having 2 SEC teams.
You're telling me that one-loss Big Ten Ohio State team wasn't better than the Washington team that got shellacked? Come on now. Like, these rankings are just, and there's teams, I think, and Coastal Carolina's
11-0, yeah, and they're ranked 12. Like, they should be higher.
There's some games here that the people who have beaten people, because I'm pretty sure Coastal Carolina's actually beat one of the teams in the top two. I forget which one. I think it might have been Iowa. No, Louisiana beat Iowa State, and they're at 19. I don't know. And also, it's even looking down, these ones don't care. But Texas is terrible. How are they ranked 20th?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Northwestern is 14, and we're 4. So that would give us a top 15 win. But if Northwestern wins, oh man, Ohio State lost to a team 10 ranks below them. We got to drop them out the top 10. And the fact that we're not getting more credit, first of all, Indiana is better than the 11. That's nonsense. They should be in the top 10. Their only loss is to the number 4 team in the country by 1 touchdown. And they've continued to win without their star quarterback.
They just beat a Wisconsin team that was ranked 16.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not for the winning you're in. I'm with you. Unfortunately, we got to do to them what we did to Wisconsin to leave zero doubt.
That 59 to nothing shellacking that we gave Wisconsin that first year of the college football playoffs.
We don't get in if we don't do that. Back in 2014, because remember, we were 6th behind Baylor and TCU.
Yes. And that year, I don't think they had a Big 12 championship game, so they didn't have that extra game to...
Yeah, and we did that. We were the main event that night because we were the last game. So we're the last game the committee sees, so we're the lasting impression. That's why I also had a problem with starting late because we're the first game. So we might, and we play at 12, so you can go, what did Ohio State do again? By the time they get to the night games, you know? So I always like being that lasting impression. I always felt like it helped when it needed.
Yes.
Especially that year. You're watching a wrestling show, you always, the main event's the first thing you remember because it's the last match. You don't remember the very first match.
Unless it blows you out of the water.
Exactly, but how often does it's something else, and it's Wednesday of time of recording, so we're trying to just get to Indy and play this game. So, Byron, what's your panic? What's your nervous level of if we only win by a touchdown?
It just depends for me on what Florida and Alabama do. Because I think of Alabama, I'm going to say Alabama is in no matter what happens to them on Saturday. If they win, of course they're in. If they lose to Florida, they'll only have 1 loss to the SEC champ. So they'll be in. I kind of feel the same way about Notre Dame. Like, if they win, of course they'll be in. But if they lose to Clemson, they'll only have 1 loss to the ACC champ. So I feel like they'll be in. Clemson, kind of feel the same. Like, I feel like the committee will just say, oh, Clemson's a pretty good team. Their only loss was to the ACC champ. So they'll be in. 2 losses to the ACC champ. I think that 4th spot is up for grabs. Depends on if Florida destroys Alabama. I don't think Ohio State will be in it. So I think it all depends on if Alabama beats Florida. And I think if we win and Alabama wins, I think we'll be in.
To be honest, man, I'm conflicted. Because I just want Notre Dame to win just to get Clemson out of here for all the crap they've been talking. But then that defeats my whole yearly goal of playing Clemson again and avenging that loss.
Right.
And Notre Dame, I heard on the radio today driving back, they were talking about how the Notre Dame Clemson game and Alabama Florida, they're basically semifinal games right now. And they were talking about, oh yeah, the losers from both of those just they should be out. I said, really? You think they're going to keep a 1-loss Alabama team out of the playoffs? Stop it.
No. Alabama has been in the playoffs every year.
Every year. Only team who's been there every year. When they're not even the SEC champ, they're in there every year.
Yes. So like I said, I don't think they'll keep Alabama out. Even if they, yeah.
because we know if Clemson loses, we know what Dabo's going to say in the post game. We lost by 1 touchdown again to the number 2 team. They're the only team who's beaten us. We still deserve a shot to go back in.
Right. He said that before the game. He said, two lost Clemson should be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're really, and they're listening to Dabo. I'm sitting here, I'm like, what? Why is Dabo talking like this? Why is everyone listening to him?
I don't know why they listen to Dabo. Probably because he's won championships. He's beat Alabama. Maybe that's the reason. Because Alabama's like the golden child in everyone's eyes.
Yeah. That was true. But I do think if we win by if we play how we play, we'll have nothing to worry about. Then we'll be previewing the playoff. But to be honest, I'm still the same as a couple weeks ago. I want Alabama to destroy Florida just for them thinking Florida even deserves to be close. I don't know. I still don't know why Texas A&M is at 5 when they don't even play any. They play one more game, so they can't even get to 9 wins. I want us to take care of them, so we're both in. That'd be Alabama, Ohio State. I think if Clemson beats Notre Dame, and I've been consistent on this, I think they'll just flip it around because they don't want to have round 3. Because God forbid, too, man, you leave Notre Dame out after just losing 1 game in the ACC championship game.
Right.
But then I just think that Clemson will move up to 2, Ohio State move up to 3, Notre Dame be up to 4, and that's what I want. That's all I want. Alabama 1, Clemson 2, us 3, Notre Dame 4. And it's nothing against Notre Dame fans. It's just I want to play Clemson first.
Yes, get that out the way.
Because now Dabo is talking that talk, and it's adding more fuels, and it's going to be fireworks. But shoot, that's really all I have on these rankings. Byron, is there anything else? Because these things are showing why we sometimes leave it to the computers. Because the computers would never put a 3-loss team over an undefeated team.
No, if this was the BCS days, it would probably be Alabama, Notre Dame, OSU, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Probably Coastal Carolina at 5.
Their season's over.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Boise State, it always sucked because they just didn't play one more super good team, but the super good teams didn't want to play Boise State because they didn't want to lose.
Yeah, Boise State was good in the BCS days.
But they always finished 3 every time. When they were really good, they always finished 3rd. They played one big game beginning of the year, and then nobody else would want to play them. Like, it's wild. And UCF said that Cincinnati's getting the UCF treatment because remember they went undefeated and they wanted Alabama to pull up into place and play them.
UCF was good. I think they should have deserved to be in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know how you keep an undefeated Division I team out, but it's just the way the committee looks. Because you don't play big teams, they don't consider you to be one of the best teams, which I think is crap. Like, I feel like if you went out, why aren't you considered one of the best? Oh, because you didn't play anybody? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I heard Joe Class say this today. Results have to start mattering. Like, if you're winning, that should count for something. You shouldn't be looking at recruiting classes, things like that. If you're winning on the field right now, that should count for something. And the fact that Ohio State is taking sticks and stones from literally everyone in the country because it's not even our fault we played 5 games, it's the commissioner's fault. That's ridiculous. Start throwing those at Kevin Warren.
Right. Like, Kevin Warren has gotten away scot-free this entire season. I feel like we're the only people who, talk about Kevin Warren.
I do too. But it is what it is, man. Byron, I know we got our end of the year pod coming. Not going to talk about the Buckeyes, just talk about general stuff. But when we start recording that day, are we in the playoffs or not? Oh, see, you're thinking about it. You're thinking about chaos.
Chaos, any given Sunday, anything can happen, man. I feel like if, just like I said, if Alabama wins and we win, I think we are in the playoffs. But I am nervous. I'm nervous.
Yeah, and God forbid. This is going to be one of these games where I usually tell people to relax during sporting events because there's waves, there's momentum, things like that. I'm sorry if we come out flat. I can't have that. We need to explode early.
Yes, and we can't. We have to look good on
last
all
year's
fronts.
Northwestern game won't cut it. We got to come out hard.
Yes. Yeah, we got to, like I said, we got to send a message to the rest of the college football world that even though we are 5-0, we deserve to be in the top 4 spot.
And I think that's it, guys. We find out this. Well, first, the game is Saturday, 12 p.m. on Fox. Joe Platt, legendary Gus Johnson, Jenny Tabb are going to be calling the game. Then Selection Sunday is Sunday, obviously, for Selection Sunday. And we'll find out if we're in. And if we're in and we know our opponent, you'll be hearing from me and Byron a lot, talking about previews and things like that. And if we're not in, God help, it's not going to be a good time. We're going to be talking about that a lot, and I know how Byron gets when the Buckeyes play poorly. You're not going to want to miss it if we don't get in. He's going to come at everybody.
Yeah. I can't have an Indiana game where our defense is giving up long touchdowns. Our defense needs to be on point, and I don't want to say I'm worried about our defense. I just can't have an Indiana game.
It's crazy, too, because Sean Wade won best cornerback in the Big Ten. I said, that's news to me.
I mean, he's had a couple defensive plays here and there. I mean,
he has, but I just remember the Penn State dude killing him, and then I remember the Indiana dude killing him.
Yeah, they're not. Those weren't his best games.
All right, Byron, anything else before we sign off? Man, we got 3 days to prepare for this game.
The only thing I have to say is go Bucks, obviously, and I hate to say it, but roll Tide.
All right. And to add to that, go Bucks. Hopefully by Sunday I can say this. Dabo, we'll be seeing you soon.
Oh yes, Dabo. I think Dabo is scared of us, honestly, because there's no way he should be talking this much crap, and he continuously beats us every year. So I don't understand why he's talking crap, because he has wins over us. So why are you acting scared?
It's okay. It's funny, too, because out of the 4, Colin Cowherd and some other people are saying we are the one that will definitely not win the title. I said, okay.
Okay. They didn't think we would win the title in 2014. Look what happened. Beat Wisconsin to get in there. Then we beat Alabama, the golden child. Mm-hmm. And then we beat Oregon, who was very good that year.
All I'm saying is, let's play the game Saturday. Let's dominate. And whoever we see Sunday, you'll be hearing from the L7C podcast soon.
Oh, yes. Yes, you will.
You'll be hearing from us. But all right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the L7C podcast. Thank you, Byron, for being on. You already heard us say it more than once. Go Bucks. Beat Northwestern. Let's dominate and get in the playoffs.
Yes. Go Bucks.
With that being said, take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.